What happens when the victim of online drama becomes the villain? Well, perhaps the best example of this is Tati Westbrook, when it came to her drama with James Charles. To understand it fully, it's important to look into the relationship the two shared. With Tati being 17 years his senior, she acted as somewhat of a mentor for him. The two would collaborate together on several beauty videos and were publicly known as friends. However, a rift would grow between the two of them in April 2019 after James Charles attended Coachella. During the event, he made a sponsored post for Sugar Bear, which was a direct rival to Tati's brand Halo Beauty. This upset Tati, who made an Instagram post about it, and James in response would apologize to her. The rift between the two of them was plain to see, but none of their fans possibly could have anticipated what would happen next. Murmurs and whispers in YouTube's beauty scene ran rampant, until on the 10th of May, Tati dropped what will become the most infamous video in the history of the beauty community, Bye Sister. In this video, she accused James of the worst sorts of things: betrayal, manipulation, and perhaps the most concerning of all, she said that James Charles had been pressuring straight men into intimate settings. So if a guy was questioning his sexuality, James Charles would pounce on him and then try to use him for gratification. Now, when this first dropped, people were very staunchly on Tati's side. Many had quite a guttural reaction to hearing that James Charles might be preying on young straight men. And the video very quickly blew up, reaching view counts in the tens of millions. And this would cause James Charles to lose tens of millions of subscribers in a few days. I can't even put into perspective for you how big this drama was. The numbers are absolutely insane. James Charles in just a few days lost more subscribers than I have ever gained, times about 20. In fact, James Charles holds the unfortunate record of being the very first YouTuber ever to lose more than 1 million subscribers in just 24 hours. However, not all was lost for James Charles, because to try and clear his name, he uploaded a video titled No More Lies, clocking in at 41 minutes in length, and utterly refuting the claims made by Tati. Charles came armed with receipts that backed up his points, and he was actually able to turn the situation around. This story mirrors a great tragedy, with plot twists that even Hollywood would struggle to pull off. The mentor becomes the villain becomes the hero, and there were still a few twists and turns left to go. But for now, it was Tati Westbrook's turn to be on the receiving end of a subscriber exodus, and she'd lose at least 200,000 following James Charles's response. In fact, I've seen some estimations of upwards of 300,000. One of the top comments here was that James Charles had pulled one of the biggest Uno reverses in YouTube history, which given its presence in this video, I think is fairly accurate. When all the dust settled, James Charles, despite the fact that he undeniably took some hits from this, came across as if he had been framed. And Tati instead looked like the villain. Of course, James Charles would later be cancelled again in 2021 after being accused of, coincidentally, grooming, and this time the cancellation would do much more damage. I don't think that James Charles' reputation ever fully recovered from that one, but at least in the context of this story, he came out on top. Interestingly, a year on from that drama, in June 2020, Tati would make a video titled Breaking My Silence, and within that video, she made the claim that she had been manipulated into making Bye Sister by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. Apparently, she had been fed false information about Charles by them, and according to Reddit, Star kept on bringing the allegations up. So perhaps these two were the mastermind puppeteers behind the scenes. Some people though were quite skeptical of these claims, and if you look in the comments section of the re-upload of this video, the comments there aren't so nice to Tati. They were saying that she was essentially trying to absolve herself of any blame and pass the buck onto someone else. Whatever the case, this drama is essentially ancient history by this point. Any consequences of the fallout of this have probably already happened. During my research, I did find a comment or two that suggested that Tati and James had made up ever since this. Whether or not it's true, I really don't know, but if it is, then it would suggest that perhaps Tati was telling the truth. Because if it is true, I really don't know why James would accept her apology. He has no obligation to do so. And my thought process would be that therefore he probably believes her and also thinks that the person behind this was Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson. But whatever the case, as the commenter quite rightly said, James Charles had pulled out a generational Uno reverse card, and of course, he has to make this video. Years on from this now, and Tati is probably remembered most on YouTube for this incident. James, as I said earlier, recovered from it, But he too would eventually fall victim to yet another set of allegations. Shane Dawson is now MIA, and Jeffree Star for the most part has moved on from YouTube. But as we found out in the unofficial part 1 of this video, accusers getting cancelled has happened on YouTube several times. If you want to check out part 1, I'll link it in the description, so you can check it out after this video ends. It's technically a part 1, but you don't need to see it before watching this, so in case you haven't, don't worry because the stories I have for you today stand alone. That said, we have a number of high-profile instances where the Uno reverse card was pulled on a cancellation attempt. So let's jump right into the next one concerning an extremely controversial figure on the internet. A devil to some, an angel to others. To many, he's a nightmare, but to most, he's Dream. Now, Dream has been in so many different controversies in the past that I'm gonna have to narrow things down. So this particular story can be traced back to November 2023 after there was some Twitter beef between Dream and Nicholas Cantu. Now, in case you're not aware of this, Nicholas Cantu is an actor and voice actor best known for voicing Gumball in The Amazing World of Gumball, but he's also been in several other notable productions such as The Walking Dead World Beyond, The Fabelmans, and the 2024 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. While he's not exactly a household name, this man does have a decently sized presence in Hollywood, which makes what I'm about to talk about next all the more bizarre. This drama can be traced back to a Twitter post made by Dream, who posted this image captioned, "Who want me?" to which Cantu replied, "I want you dead." Cantu proceeded to call Dream a pedo, which was when Dream decided to respond with a long Twitter paragraph saying that Nicholas was a shitty person, that he physically assaulted him, said the N-word, was condescending towards an Uber driver, and was generally a horrible human being. The two very clearly had some bad blood, but things would only get worse after Dream decided to press the nuclear button and release a video. This clip would receive 120 million views in only a few days, and the reason it became so viral is evident to see within it. So I'm going to play the video for you right now.
I was trying to tell you that before you even started talking to me.
Yeah, before I tell you,
listen to somebody who has experience in life. If I'm putting you on game, right?
Yeah.
See, you still
Go.
I'm not going.
So you're asking why
I'm not going because you're manipulating. The same thing you say you not want to do or you went through, you're doing the exact same shit. And you're using all these bullshit excuses of why you're still fucking up. So you're the type of person you're gonna have to bump your fucking head for you to learn. So when somebody who is older than you,
I want to tell you right now, you are Australopithecus Cro-Magnon rock fucking stupid. You're retarded. You're Down syndrome. I don't give a You do not understand that your literacy level needs to be brought up from the Mariana Trench, and you have a issue with your intelligence. When the bites come or the ants come at me, it'll take 10,000, 100,000 of them to take me down. So that's how minuscule you are to my size, right? My stature of intelligence, character, body, and reverence in the world. 1K is better for this pussy who doesn't want to give away his millions. Are you Jewish? No, man, because I'm gonna do movies, stand-up comedy, everything, all this music, whatever, e-commerce. You don't understand that you're talking to like a Michelangelo of my time. Right? Like I'm a genius, Albert Einstein level history bookmaker. You're gonna be forgotten like the dust in the sand when you're in the fucking Sahara and there's 100 million, 1,000 billion sand particles. You're gonna be one of those, and I'm gonna be a statue erected in gold.
Now, upon watching that, and then also remembering the theme of this video, you might be wondering to yourself, how could it possibly be that Nicholas Cantu came out on top in this interaction? Now, upon watching that, and then reminding yourself the topics and themes for this video, you might be wondering to yourself, how could it be possible that Nicholas Cantu pulled the Uno reverse card on this situation and ended up on top compared to Dream? But the reality is, he didn't have to. Here's the interesting thing. After seeing that video, after hearing Nicholas Cantu say all of these absolutely reprehensible things, many people on the internet still thought that Dream came out of the situation looking worse. The reason was that, long story short, people thought that Dream's behavior was even worse than Gumball's. And it's kind of weird, but what Dream failed to realize was that when he leaked this video, it proved that 1, he was passing with someone that was under the legal drinking age when Dream himself was 24, and 2, everyone now knows that Dream decided to record a video of this person to later use as blackmail or revenge a year down the line. He took the conscious effort to record this video, sit on it for months on end, and then have it saved in the archives for like a year, only to use it when it benefited him, and to many people, this made Dream come across a lot worse. People were saying that it seemed a bit off, a little bit manipulative and toxic, that he would record this video of Nicholas Cantu being a dick, and instead of releasing it there and then, he would sit on it for ages until it became a benefit to him to release it. But all of that said, the backlash against Nicholas Cantu was fairly minimal. I do think it's important to remind you that at the time, Dream was the internet's #1 enemy. He was on top of the most wanted list. People didn't like him whatsoever. This was right before his The Truth video, which was uploaded a month later, so at the time, basically any Dream hate on the internet was valid. To be honest, I think that anyone that completely disregarded what Nicholas Cantu was saying and doing was just utterly blinded by their hate for Dream. Nicholas Cantu came out of this looking like an entitled prima donna prick. If there's one thing in this world I hate, it's ego. I'm sure you guys know that. This dude, he played Gumball, and he thinks that he might as well be Marlon Brando. Like, what? I just don't get it, dude. That said, I don't want to downplay people's concerns. This did come across as a manipulative move by Dream, and by all accounts, it did backfire. The Cantu video was then taken down from Twitter, and even though Dream would recover from this, he's definitely not hated as much today as he was back then. This cancellation attempt did much more damage to Dream than it did to Gumball. And speaking of Gumball, that reminds me of a lunchtime snack. I'll try to keep this next one brief because I feel like most people watching this will already know the story. It's one that's dated back to late 2024, and it's one that I've also spoken about in the past. It all started when the Legion of Doom, aka Mr. Beast, Logan Paul and KSI, decided to join forces in order to sell children a shoddy knockoff of Lunchables. Audiences quickly turned on the trio, and among those was Dantdm, who you might know as a popular Minecraft YouTuber with nearly 30 million subscribers. On YouTube, this man is treated as royalty. There are certain creators out there, very often OG gamers from the early 2010s, that will be defended to the death if you say anything negative about them, and Dantdm is one of those. So when he came out to criticize Lunchly, calling it a soulless cash grab, many people were in his corner. His take was shared by a lot of audience members who just felt as though feeding your child Prime and Feastables and Lunchly, it just seemed dystopian. Therefore, fans rallied behind Dan. And that would have been that, if not for KSI, one of the co-owners of Lunchly, making several adverse tweets attacking Dan. I mentioned this in my video about the internet's most hated influencer merch, released around this time last year, which I'll link in the description in case you want to check it out. But the amount of tweets that KSI made about Dantdm made him seem desperate and obsessed, and they only fanned the flames. KSI, and to a lesser extent Logan Paul clapping back about it, kept the drama in people's minds. KSI would then twist the narrative again though, because he said that while at first the responses were genuine because he was angry, he eventually realised that he could harness the attention he was getting to try and promote his new song.
I'd say the only thing I would have done is probably the 2 tweets that I did at Dan.
The first 2.
I think those were genuine.
Yeah.
Those were me like, F this guy.
Yeah.
Don't f***ing come on my business, da 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 da. But then, because I had a single coming out, I was like, oh my God, I can just use this as a way to market my song.
Oh.
I can use all this hate, all this attention, and just drive it to people going to my song.
Now the interesting thing is that the song that he released around this time, Thick of It, has actually gone down as one of his biggest hits. It's almost KSI's most viewed video of all time, but a large part of the song's success was actually made up of people clowning on it. Upon its release, people for the most part were making fun of the song, but at the end of the day, any publicity is good publicity. So if KSI was telling the truth, then he wasn't just trying to rewrite history, I would definitely argue that he played the internet in that sense. But at the same time, Lunchly, the product that he was meant to be promoting, suffered. And while I don't think that Dantdm single-handedly took down Lunchly, nor do I think that KSI was the sole reason for the product's demise, I think that it's fair to say that KSI was definitely in more hot water than Dan was at the end of this conflict. And therefore, I'd argue that the incident fit the criteria for this video. With that said, I thought that it might be quite a nice idea to experiment a little bit for our next story. Let's take a jump from social media to video games to discuss late 2022's Bayonetta drama. In case you're unfamiliar with the franchise, Bayonetta is a fantasy action-adventure game. The first game dropped in 2009, and since then, a further 2 games have been released, with the sequel coming out in 2014, and the 3rd installment in the Bayonetta franchise releasing in 2022. The titular character, Bayonetta, was voiced by English voice actress Helena Taylor in the first 2 games, but fans of the franchise were quick to notice that in the 3rd installment, she was nowhere to be found. And for obvious reasons, this upset some fans that really identified her as the voice of Bayonetta. Speculation about why she wasn't returning ran rampant for months, until Mrs. Taylor finally decided to break her silence. She would post a video onto Twitter explaining her reasoning, which I'll play for you right now.
Hello, my name's Helena Taylor, and I am the voice of Bayonetta, and I would like to explain to you why I didn't voice Bayonetta 3. The Bayonetta franchise made an approximated $450 million. That's not including merchandise. As an actor, I trained for a total of 7.5 years. 3 years at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art, LAMDA, with voice coach Barbara Barkery, and 4.5 years with the legendary Larry Moss in Los Angeles. And what did they think this was worth? What did they offer to pay me? The final offer to do the whole game as a buyout, a flat rate, was $4,000 US. This is an insult to me, the amount of time that I took to work on my talent and everything that I have given to this game and to the fans. I am asking the fans to boycott this game and instead spend the money that you would have spent on this game donating it to charity. I didn't want the world. I didn't ask for too much. I was just asking for a decent, dignified living wage. What they did was legal, but it was immoral.
The video carries on for an extra few minutes, but the main talking point circles back around to this. She believed that the $4,000 that she was being offered to voice the character was insultingly low, and so she kept urging fans of the game to boycott the upcoming release to stick it to the corporate fat cats. This clip was seen more than 10 million times, and to my surprise, it's still up on Twitter. While it's undeniable that Nintendo would be under incredibly hot water if what she said was true, the fact of the matter is that her video contains several misleading statements and even outright lies. On the 18th of October, a Bloomberg article written by Jason Schreier would be released that would take this case in a whole new direction. It read, "In the case of Bayonetta 3, the developer appeared to be determined to rehire Taylor, according to 2 people familiar with the negotiations, as well as documentation reviewed by Bloomberg. Here's where their accounts differ. Platinum Games sought to hire Taylor for at least 5 sessions, each paying $3,000 to $4,000 for 4 hours in the studio, said the people who asked not to be identified because they aren't authorized to discuss private contract negotiations. That would make the total for the game at least $15,000. In response, they said Taylor asked for a 6-figure sum as well as residuals on the game. Platinum later offered Taylor a cameo in the game for the fee of 1 session, which she turned down, the people said. Mrs. Taylor would later corroborate this on her Twitter, saying that she was offered $10,000 and then an additional $5,000, which would take her total up to $15,000. But since she declined this offer, the studio decided to go with another voice. Whether or not you think that $15,000 was enough for this voice actress, that's another question entirely, but fans of the game were extremely angry when they found out that they had been misled. Helena Taylor saw severe backlash, and if you look at the comment section of this video, it's generally in agreement that her claims here essentially led to the death of her career. Mrs. Taylor has not voiced anyone since. In fact, her last IMDb credit dates back to 2016, so it's been almost a decade now. She claimed that she was stepping away from voice roles after this fiasco, but to be honest, I don't think that it really mattered. At this point, I think that Mrs. Taylor, even if she wanted to voice more characters, would essentially be unhireable. Maybe 3 years down the line from this happening, maybe, but at least at the time, it was not going to happen. She tried to cancel this game, but ended up cancelling herself. But now it's time for me to cancel this video, and that means that you're going to have to check out my previous installment on when cancellations backfire. That's the unofficial part 1 to this video. If you haven't seen it already and you enjoyed this, definitely go check it out because I'm sure you'll love it. If you have seen that one though, as I'd suspect you might, then go check out my video on the concerning rise of false allegations. That one features a lot of the same themes as this one, so again, if you enjoyed this, I'm sure you'll love that one as well. Aside from that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.